for moms and dads who are not sure how to handle this, not sure what to say, I hope this helps. And God forbid any of us are ever in this position. This is the kind of thing we need to do.
Hey, everybody. We are pulling in Eric Flukiger, who counsels people as part of his practice. He helps out through the school system. He also helps out in private practice. And so, Eric, let's talk a little bit about this experience. I mean, it was a very scary experience for adults.
Yeah.
And there were
Yeah.
parents there with their kids, and they're writing in talking about their experiences. What's the bottom line here for parents as they try to approach their
Mm.
children and help them understand this?
First and foremost, I mean, a heartbreaking situation. My heart goes out to everybody affected by the bad
Sure.
news. It's a scary thing that happens in our world, unfortunately, but there are things parents can do. First and foremost is validate your kids' feelings. You know that it is scary. The same as we would want our feelings validated. But I think a couple of things came to mind, and first and foremost is just closeness. Keep your
Mm.
kids close. Express them their love and safety. Be reassuring. Even when it doesn't seem like maybe they are asking for that reassurance. That's always the right answer. You're okay. I'm here. Nothing's going to happen here in this place. We're safe. And then the other thing is is try to keep some semblance of a normal routine.
Mm.
Routine for us is surprisingly regulating. When we just kind of do the next normal thing throughout our day, our brain and our heart just kind of goes, "Oh yeah, this is normal for me." You don't have to, over explain what the situation is. You don't have to, um, try to give answers that you're not comfortable giving. Just be reassuring that everything's all right and I'm here, and then, like I said, routine can be very helpful.
A couple of parents have shared some things that were interesting that I thought maybe we could address. So one mom, for example, her children were younger and they wanted to sleep in the room with them. They put some mattresses
Hmm.
on the floor, and in the middle of the night, she said she woke up and heard noise. She was like, "What is going on?" And she looked
Mm.
down, and her son was literally running in his
Yeah.
sleep. So,
Wow.
and some children are expressing nothing, right? I mean, some children will just kind
Yeah.
of get internalized and not say anything. So
Mm.
how do you deal with like the extremes of that, right? Somebody that really is
Yeah.
apparently feeling a lot and somebody who maybe isn't
Hmm.
expressing that so clearly.
Hmm. You got to be the calm first and foremost.
Okay.
You got to take that deep breath, and kind of bring your own emotions down. And your kids pick up on that, right? They
They
read our
do.
our our body language, they read our vibe. And so we kind of start with the calm and the reassurance. And then we just kind of want to take note. Like you would with your kid. Your kid gets a fever or a cold. Most good parents are just going to kind of monitor that. They're going to kind of keep maybe a mental checklist of, this went on for 48 hours or this went on for a week. And and if you're kind of seeing maybe things trending away from what feels normal for your family, you might reach out to a pediatrician. That's
Mm,
that's kind of
good starting point.
first line intervention is call your kid's doctor. Um, for mental and emotional reasons, uh, pediatricians are excellent resources for kids' mental health.
That's a great starting point. And talk a little bit too, we as adults, I mean, I wasn't there, but I mean, I've listened to so many stories about it and heard
Mm-hmm.
so much anxiety expressed
Mm-hmm.
about the experience. So I know a lot of
Yeah.
parents were flipped out by it themselves.
Yeah.
When we are struggling ourselves to be calm, what do
Yeah.
we do to like reclaim our own sense of
We
reality
talk
so that we
about it.
can help our kids?
Yeah. Yeah. We need to talk about it.
Okay.
I'm a therapist by trade, and I've been doing this a really long time. And the thing that we do as adults to cope between therapy sessions is we confide in the people that listen to us and help us process, things that we're going through. even if you have to talk about the same situation or that same event that happened, a dozen times,
Yeah,
that's okay. That's okay. That that really kind of helps our brain make sense of confusing situations and circumstances. One of the aspects of trauma, whether you're young or you're old, is the confusing aspect. We really kind of focus on the fear aspect and the
sure.
shock, but confusion is very much a component of
Interesting.
trauma. So if we're talking about it, um, with people that are validating and good listeners, our brain starts to go, yeah, that happened. That was scary. And it becomes a little bit less confusing. And as our brain kind of makes sense of it, it kind of loses its power.
There was one mom who was talking about she has like 8, 10 year olds, and they're asking, okay, who's been
Hmm.
arrested? They want the facts. Who's been arrested? How are the people who were hurt?
Hmm.
They want updates and information.
Yeah,
And sometimes we as parents, first of all, may not have the answer because we haven't
sure.
had a lot of updates so far from the
Yeah,
police.
yeah.
And then sometimes we tend, don't we, to maybe sometimes give the kids too much information. Like we think they
Sometimes.
want all
Yeah,
this info, but really sometimes
yeah,
the simplest answers may
yeah,
solve the issue, right?
yeah. Over explaining doesn't necessarily resolve that confusion.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes over explaining can kind of exacerbate that confusion a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So explaining in the things that we know, the things that are factual, um, and then making it okay that there's some things that we don't know,
Mm-hmm.
and just expressing the normalcy of, yeah, I don't know how that person's doing specifically, um, but I can tell you generally, these are typically survivable things that for what we know about this scary situation. And then just there again, being reassuring, speaking hopefully, not embellishing on speculation, things like that. That tends to be generally unhelpful.
Yeah, that makes sense. Any closing thoughts as parents cope with this, and adults who
Yeah.
were through it, who went through it, because sometimes we adults, we might be willing to reach out for help for our kids, but we might not be
Hmm.
willing to reach out for help for ourselves.
That's true. That's true for myself sometimes.
Me too.
Sometimes even as the counselor, right? It's hard to ask for help. But I think time, just spending time with your kids, that that really speaks love universally, and reassurance. So spend that time, and also to try to curb our own worries
Mm,
that maybe if our kids aren't talking about a scary or confusing situation, doesn't mean that they're struggling more with it.
true.
We might be preoccupied with things, but there's a lot of hours to live in a day. And over focusing on scary or confusing events in the news doesn't doesn't necessarily mean it's better. Over focusing can create more problems. So if it's not, the topic's not coming up, that's okay too.
Okay. And if there's a child who is, potentially down the road afraid to ever go back to the mall, or immediately
Hmm.
at the moment doesn't want to go anywhere away from mom or dad,
Hmm.
how do you help them like get back to school on Monday? Well, I guess there's no school this time of the year. That's good. But
Yeah.
get back to a normal.
Yeah.
Maybe they're going to camp or they're going to, a swimming lesson.
Yeah.
How do you get them
Yeah.
back in the groove?
I wish that there was one right answer for
Sure.
all of the individual situations. I think for all of us, we have a little parent intuition. I
Hmm.
think that we can, kind of encourage and kind of redirect gently towards the plan that's in place, towards the activity that we're planning on doing, but also being a little bit flexible. Like, if we start easing a little ways into going back to the mall or being away from parents, and it becomes really obvious that it's not going to go as planned, just to be okay with being a little flexible and allowing plans to change.
Mm.
And letting our kids know that that's okay. They might feel like, you know, if I'm scared to go to the mall, I'm, letting mom or dad down because that's where they want to go. We can let them know that we're okay if they're struggling with that.
Got it. You are great. Thank you, Eric, for giving some insight. I
Thanks,
know
Amy.